So I am really excited to be here. Today I'm going to talk about design for use, deliver value. But an alternative name for this presentation is actually, are you data economy ready? And you might think, what does that mean? What does it mean to be data economy ready? Well, it's about thinking of your data not just as an asset. We talk about data as an asset, but an asset could be something that's just protected. Thinking about data as something that can be used and used to deliver value. Thomas Edison said, the value of an idea lies in the use of it. And the same is true for data. It's about how we use our data. So how do you get data economy ready? Well, we all know that you can't turn a Beetle into a racing car by just painting stripes on it. That's not going to make it more efficient. That's not going to make it faster. Well, companies are the same. We can't just paint racing stripes. We have to really think about how we're operating. It's a full engine overhaul. We have to be using data to better understand our customers in order to serve them better, deliver products that make them happy, deliver products that make them productive. We need to be thinking about our operations and using data to better understand our operations in order to improve them. So it's about overhauling the engine and using data to fuel that new engine. So what's under the hood? Let's take a look. So traditionally, data has been siloed. It's been locked within specific applications. It's been protected by specific functions or departments. It's been hiding across different clouds, different systems, and that's made it very difficult to discover what data do we even have, and it's made it difficult to use. So what we need to do is think about that data differently, make that data more accessible, discoverable, and transform it into data products. Products that can be used by different customers, different consumers within your organization or outside your organization. So let's take a couple of examples. You might think, all right, we need a customer 360. We need to understand everything we know about our customers, from sales data, from CRM, from other types of transactions, interactions with our website, maybe product usage, calls to customer service, and aggregate that data to really better understand who those customers are and how we can serve them better. Likewise, we could think of a product 360, understanding the processes that went into making that product, understand how that product is being used by the customers. Maybe that's similar data, but used within two different data products. So we're creating that aggregate view of the product, again, maybe to be able to modify it, maybe make improvements on it, maybe improve the maintenance of it, predict downtime, identify defects, anomalies. But having that aggregated data product enables us to better use it. Now, maybe sometimes those data products are individual data sets that can be aggregated into a broader aggregate data product. Maybe it's not just the data itself, maybe it's a data service or a data application, and we'll talk about that. But what's exciting is this thinking about data as something that we can use and something that will deliver value. And it turns out that 38% of CDOs today have adopted that kind of data product thinking, data product management, which includes putting in place data product managers to drive that process. So let's look at what data product thinking looks like. It starts from the outside in. It's working backwards. It's understanding who those customers are and what they need, what type of product they need, what's a minimum viable product. So thinking about those requirements upfront, what are those downstream requirements? And then feeding them back upstream to the data product teams, those new roles that you're identifying and putting into place in order to take the data from different sources and build them into a product that's going to be used. Now, the same data, like I said, could be made into different types of products depending on the audience and the need. But ultimately, it's about creating this cycle that takes the requirements from downstream, feeds them back upstream, and designs and creates something that can be used and something that will deliver value into a specific context. So the first thing to think about is who those different audiences might be. Who are those customers? Who are the customers for the data? Well, it could be internal. You could have sales who wants to be able to prioritize leads, who wants to be able to forecast their revenues. It could be marketing. They want to optimize a campaign and tailor specific messaging to certain audiences. It might be product development itself that wants to improve the product, reduce the defects or anomalies, maybe predict the maintenance. It might be finance. We all know that finance wants a lot of reporting. Maybe it's about compliance, maybe it's about revenue forecasting, satisfying the investors. But it could also be customers external to your organization. Now, it could be your existing customers who might want a data product that helps them understand their own product use, how they're using your product, so that they can optimize the use of a fleet or a specific type of asset. It could be partners in a supply chain, or it could be entirely different customers altogether that would generate for you a new revenue stream based on that data. Now, the next question then is, what form does that data product take? What is a data product? Well, I love this analogy where you think of data as taking different forms depending on the context. Sand is the raw material. It's the data itself, the tables, the metadata. A glass is something that is built with the data, but it's not necessarily the end in and of itself. Yes, it's a glass, but in order to really use a glass, you need to put something in it. You need to do something with it. It's going to deliver a service. Or a lamp, which is designed for a specific purpose. That lamp is going to deliver light. It's going to serve a specific purpose. Now, bringing that back into concrete terms, we have data sets, which are the raw data, or metadata, or something in raw form that makes up that data. We have data services. That could be something like identity resolution or data enrichment, an intermediate step. Now, the data itself would need to be delivered to somebody who could do something with it, a data scientist, a developer. A data service may be targeted more at a business analyst, somebody who's familiar with data, but they're going to be doing something with it. Now, the third is an application, a data-enriched application. An application could be thought of like a decision support tool. It's going to drive a specific decision, whether it's made by humans or made by machines. But it's going to give us information that's going to allow us to solve a specific problem, address a specific business context. We might think price optimization. What happens if I price my product in a specific way? What's the impact on margin or market share or what have you? So think of that application as a data-enriched service, if you will, but that serves a specific context, a decision support tool. Now, there's some trade-offs, as I mentioned earlier. So if you're delivering data, somebody needs to do something with it. So the audience needs to be a little more technical, a developer or a data scientist. There's a little slower time to value. You're delivering the service maybe quicker because you're delivering the data itself, but somebody has to do something with it to deliver value from it. And that's fine with the right audience. One of our customers was telling us that they're delivering data into hedge funds, and the hedge funds have data scientists. They don't want anyone to do anything with their data. Just give me the data. I'm going to embed it into my models. A data service might take a little bit more time. You have to do something with it. And then an application is a faster time to value for your end consumer because it's providing that product into a specific business context. Now let's look at kind of a busy slide, but a little bit more detail here. Imagine you've got IoT data. So you've got a product based on IoT data. And there are a number of different use cases across all industries. You can be taking data from medical devices and improving patient outcomes. You could be analyzing telemetry from vehicle fleets. So there's a wide variety of applications here. But the idea is to think about that data that's being generated by those devices and how you can create products from them in specific business contexts. Now, another example here is a product based on machine learning. Again, you're taking the data, maybe also from an IoT device, but you're doing something with it, so it's providing that kind of decision support, price recommendations, impact analysis of those specific prices. It could be, again, prioritizing leads within sales. So there are a number of different applications of that type of data that would serve a specific business context. Now, a couple of examples. We've got some great examples. This example comes from Scania here in the Nordics. They've got a fleet of 600,000 battery electric vehicles, and they're doing a number of things with them. Those vehicles are transmitting millions of data transactions, millions of events, if you will. And so there are three specific applications that I wanted to highlight. One is a telecommunications product, a data product. So they're using that data to understand how frequently they need to communicate that data. How are we using that data? How frequently do we need to get that data off of the vehicles in order to do what we need to do? Now, it turns out that they were able to reduce their communication costs by about 50% because they were able to optimize the frequency with which they captured that data. So having that service, that application, that data product allowed them to reduce costs, their cost of operating. Now, the second one was their digital intelligence data product. Now, that product looked at how their customers were using their product, interacting with that product, and it helped them improve the services that they were delivering with those vehicles. So it helped them improve their customers' product use and their customers' experience. Now, there's a third product as well, which is their battery electric vehicle analysis, which helps them understand how the vehicles are operating. Now, they can use that data internally for product development, for this digital intelligence services that I mentioned, but there's also a potential to take that data to market, to use that data and deliver those kinds of insights to a wider audience. Maybe their customers are interested in that so that they can optimize how they use the fleet. Maybe others are interested in how electric vehicles are being driven across Europe. So there's a really interesting to think about not only these data products from an internal use case perspective, but what the opportunities are for taking that data to market. So it turns out that there's actually a massive demand for external data today. We all know that. And this was a quote that a CDO from a US-based bank told me years ago, but I find it still relevant and I like to use it. With our own data, we can only see internally. We need to see industry benchmarks, regional trends, what waves we can ride in on. We're all doing business in a broad business context. We need to understand what's happening beyond our four walls. We need to be gathering external data. And it turns out more and more companies are. The demand for external data is growing significantly. This was a study from Explorium. And they told us, they found that the number of data providers that companies are buying data from is growing significantly. Only about 9% said that they were getting data from 5 or more data providers in 2021, but 44% said they were getting data from 5 or more data providers in 2022. Likewise, budgets are growing significantly as well. 7% said that they were spending over $1 million for data, for external data in 2021, and 13% said that in 2022. So companies are looking for more diverse data. Gartner actually calls it now, they don't use the term big data so much, they use wide data, data from diverse data sources to bring in insights that could be differentiating. So looking at data from different sources and actually spending more money on buying external data. Now here's a quick, easy example. JetBlue uses weather data to help optimize their flight routes, obviously reducing their own costs, but reducing their carbon footprint and that of their passengers. Another example that I really like, because it's not just about bringing data in, it's about sharing data, about collaborating with data. Kraft Heinz shares data with their retailers and with their suppliers, so creating a data ecosystem to improve their demand forecasting, to reduce the dreaded out of stock within some of their stores, and obviously improve their sales. So that kind of data ecosystem is being created to enable people to share data across companies and really build and create this data economy. So another example that I actually really like illustrates how this can be done. It illustrates that a company that's not a traditional data provider can take their data to market. So this is ADP. They are a software provider, human capital management software. They basically run payroll for about 25% of the US economy. Now, one of the things they recognized was that they actually had more data, real time, than the US Department of Labor Statistics. They had more data on salaries, on hiring, on firing, on levels of benefits. And it was interesting for them and for their customers, who could benchmark themselves against others and find out if they were competitive within their region or within their industry. But it was also interesting for non-customers. It was interesting because sometimes people want to know where they should place a new office or a new factory. What's the cost of living? What are the salaries in that area? Would I be able to put my factory there and find the right types of skills? Would I be able to afford the salaries in that particular area? So they started publishing this report, the ADP National Employment Report, and started offering data products and services that were powered by the data that they had from managing payroll across the US economy. So it's an interesting example of a non-data provider becoming a data provider and creating an incremental revenue stream for themselves. Now, it's not an easy thing to do. The data product journey is somewhat long and not necessarily a straight path, but this gives some idea of what the steps are in getting there. It's creating those products that envision use, that anticipate the use of the data to deliver value into the organization. It's about deciding which form that data product takes, understanding who those customers are, what the use cases are, and then building it. Then it's about thinking of the price. What price do we put on it? Now, you might not be commercializing your data. You might be just using that data internally. But we're starting to see companies think about product usage and chargeback, or at least attribution, recognizing the value that certain data products are delivering to the organization. So it might not be chargeback per se. It might be showback, as some of our customers have told us. But the idea is that these data teams, which are now data product teams, are starting to get gold on data use and eventually on the value that they'll be able to demonstrate that they delivered to their organization. So we can think of it as price in the traditional product sense, or we can think of it in terms of value delivered to the organization. And then the last step of going to market. Now, it could be going to market in terms of literally launching the data product within the data economy, looking for a marketplace or identifying sales teams, or whether it's an incremental sale to our existing product or service. Or you can think about going to market internally and making sure that that data is accessible, is discoverable. So can all of my teams within my organization find the data that we have? Again, eliminating those silos and making sure that that data is discoverable, findable, available to everyone that needs to have access to it across the organization. So we can think of going to market as an internal exercise just as much as potentially going to market externally would be. And with that, I'm going to repeat my quote of Thomas Edison: the value of an idea lies in the use of it. And really, that's the way that we enter the data economy, is to think of our data as something that will be used, something that will deliver value, and as a data product. Data is something to be used and deliver value. So with that, design for use, deliver value. Thank you.